On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Crystal Gayle, and she's going to be performing Cry Me a River. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So it has taken us a little while to get to Crystal Gayle, considering the country artists that we've looked at so far. I have isolated Crystal's vocal and run it through the pitch monitoring software, so we'll have that on screen. The performance is just over 3 minutes in length, so we'll watch it the whole way through and then get into the analysis afterwards.
And now here's Crystal Gayle to sing Cry Me a River.
Now you say you're lonely. You cry the long night through. Well, you can cry me a river. Cry me a river. I cried a river over you. Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river. Cry me a river. I cried a river over you. You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head. Why you never shed a tear. Remember, I remember all that you said. Told me love was too plebeian. Told me you were through with me. And now you say you love me. Well, just to prove you do, come on and cry me a river. Cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
And there we have it. This is such a great example of something that I say in a lot of videos where I'm looking at singers who have a background in country music, that they just have great voices, and not just pigeonholing them to the genre of country, but when they take on something from a different genre, and this is definitely a different genre. When we're talking about Crystal and her voice, she started out in country and sister of Loretta Lynn, who I've looked at on this channel as well. And to begin with, it didn't really sit well, and she wasn't selling very well singing country, but then they made it a little bit more mainstream, or at least kind of pop country, so that it was more accessible. And this is where she started to have a lot of success, crossing over into the mainstream charts as well as being popular in the country charts. But when we're talking about this cover, It's not something that has been countrified. This hasn't been changed in order to make it suit a particular type of voice and sit it in that genre, which really shows off Crystal's voice, but the arrangement's so similar to the original as well. I know here that it's a little bit more regimented rhythm-wise, because on that original, and you know, I'm talking about going all the way back to the original, you know, back in what, the 50s, that was really free form in nature, but we still get the jazz sound and all of that arrangement that was in that previous version. Just to throw in here about the songwriter Arthur Hamilton back in the 50s. I think he wrote this in 1953 and then it was released a couple of years after that, and it was Julie London who provided that vocal. But what a great expression that Arthur came up with, Cry Me a River. I mean, it's something that actually has been used for other songs, but I mean, this song in particular has been covered so many times over the years by so many different artists. So I've taken it back to the beginning and let's see what we can hear.
Now you say you're lonely.
And even with the first line of the song, this is where range comes in, and it's not something that you want to let fly under your radar, because with this first line we've covered over an octave, and it's something that I mention about lots of singers, that if you can just cover an octave in a song, then that's great, having the ability to do that. But when we get the ranges up on screen, you can see how we've started actually, I believe, at the A4. I'll just make sure that we take that back and have another listen to it.
Now you
Yeah, bang on the A4 and a straight note, and look how accurate this is.
say you're lonely.
And look at how low we're going down to the G3. So we've got a little run here as well, which is great, and we'll dissect that in a second. But this range of going over an octave and not sounding like it's going over an octave, this is what great singers can do. They've got the range and they never sound like they are straining to get that range. So when we relate this to the ranges, we've got those up on screen and we can see that the A4 is, you know, bang in the middle of that mezzo-soprano range, and we're not just spending time here, we're going to do a run in one vocal phrase all the way down over an octave to the G3, which is down here. And you can see that we're now into the contralto range. So we've spanned not only over an octave, but we're changing range classifications here. So again, really impressive, because it doesn't sound like she's doing that much because of the level that she's at vocally. I'm just going to let it play on.
You cried a long night through.
Great example there of this F4, and we had na na na, and she actually held that really straight, and you know, bang on the F4, but then went into through and added vibrato, which we can see indicated here on our pitch monitoring software.
Can cry me a river.
And something that Crystal does throughout this performance, every single time, when she says cry me a river, she starts with a cry on the word cry. And this is undoubtedly an intentional thing that she's doing artistically, and she's got the ability to do this, to bring this cry into her sound. So you hear the onset of the vocal cords coming together. I might take this back so that we can hear it, because, you know, if you don't know what you're listening out for, it can be hard to spot. But let's have another listen.
You cried a long night through. Well, you can cry.
So you hear a tiny cry at the beginning of that word that is higher than the pitch that she then relaxes into. And not that you can really tell on the pitch monitoring software because it's so subtle, it's such a quiet cry, but you can actually see we're coming down to the note to begin with, and we're going na 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 na, and then she's actually bending up to the G4, or sliding up, you'd be bending on an instrument such as the guitar, but you can see how we've actually entered this note from above. So it means that we've hit a higher note, and that's the cry that came in earlier. I might actually take this back and listen to it in slow motion so that you might be able to tell or hear that cry a little bit more clearly.
Well, you can cry.
Right there, you might be able to hear that. It's just a higher pitch, but she does that with every single cry, and it's only at the beginning, that first cry. For all of the other cries, she doesn't do it, as there she just sang that straight without the cry.
I cried a river over you. Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
And it's really cool. Once you know it's in there and you're listening out for it, you really get to appreciate that vocal technique.
You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head. Why you never shed a tear.
Great example of holding the note and vibrato on this G4, just bang on, and really even vibrato, which again is another thing that all the great singers have. And when we're just taking it back, just scrolling through the pitch monitor, we can see how accurate all of these notes are, and especially when Crystal holds a note, you can see that, you know, she's pretty much bang on the whole time, this A sharp 3, but you can just have, you know, a quick scoot through, and, you know, again here, you know, bang on the C sharp 4, the G4 up here with vibrato, and even the notes where she's changing from one to the next very quickly, the A sharp 3 here to the C4, again, just really accurate pitch-wise. What I might do is take down the backing so that we get to hear Crystal's voice a little bit more clearly.
Never shed a tear. Remember, I remember.
And listen to how soft she is there. She's just got this laser-like accuracy with notes, and you have to have this performing this song, because it's something about jazz that great jazz vocalists more often than not don't have an exaggerated vibrato or a wide vibrato. So it means that they're not singing really widely around a note, they are picking out these notes really accurately, and more often than not, they're hitting notes straight, and you can't afford to miss them and be too sharp or too flat when you're singing with that kind of style.
Remember,
Remember. All of those have got to be dead on.
I remember.
I remember. I remember. You know, you can't afford to miss these.
All that you said.
And leaning into it a little bit more. That first phrase we had a like na 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 na, and leant into it and then came out of it again, putting more air into the sound. So much vocal technique going on. Crystal's got all of the vocal technique required to just sing this, you know, so authentically when you compare it to that original.
Told me love was too plebeian. Told me you were through with me, and now you say you love me.
And I love that. The little rundown that we have, there's, you know, such a subtle slide and a picking out of notes. So when we have this,
Now you say you love me.
we've got now you say you love me. So say, slowing that down, say. There's a little run in there.
Now you say
You say. And, you know, she's, like I said, laser accurate. Interesting that we got to hear her vibrato as well, because when you slow it down, you get an appreciation of how we are sliding above and below the note. We're encapsulating that pitch with technique. Let's listen again. No, it's got that kind of feel to it.
Say you love me.
And that run, say you love me, now you say you love me, is so subtle, but it's great.
Well, just to prove you do.
And listen to the difference in vibrato there. On the ooh of do, we were a lot wider. Now we've got do. It's do. More exaggerated. Again, these are just artistic choices. How Crystal's feeling at the time, literally at that millisecond, as to how she wants to deliver that note and which vibrato she wants to go with. You know, when we're analysing it in this detail, you get to appreciate it, but when you're listening to the song and just enjoying it, all of this will just hit you as a connection rather than technique.
Come on and cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
And then we get into this piano solo that we have, which is actually really cool because we have that change up tempo wise and then immediately come back to the original feel. So it just throws in something that's a little bit interesting just to keep your attention. But I love to take a look at videos and performances like this where there's an artist who will be known for a different style and genre of music. You will have crossover success when your voice is that accessible to so many different genres that people might be into. You can listen to this and just think, oh wow, what a great version of Cry Me a River. But it's not a country song, it's just a great version. Just a standalone version that Crystal has performed here and just done a great version of it. So yeah, she was, you know, hugely successful in the mid 70s, you know, late 70s, 80s as well. And you can really see why because of this voice. But thank you guys so much for requesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!